What is up, guys? This is going to be my review for Arrow Season 6, Episode 11, titled We Fall. But before the review, it's gone to my attention that my videos are sometimes not showing up in sub boxes. Somebody on Twitter told me this, that one of my videos didn't show up. So I bet this is just a glitch in YouTube somehow or something like that. It'll pass over, but until it does, if my videos aren't showing up in your sub boxes, then you could just follow me on Twitter and you'll get every single video there. Whenever I upload a video here, it automatically uploads on Twitter, or it automatically tweets on Twitter about the video. So you could just follow me on Twitter and you'll get all the updates for all my videos, or you can press the bell icon and you'll get notifications. My Twitter is in the description below. It's Twitter at the blackest line because the black line was taken. But follow me on Twitter and you'll be able to see all my videos until this glitch passes over. So with all that in mind, let's get into the review. So this episode is called We Fall, and it precedes Divided, or it continues after Divided. I don't know which one's correct. But this episode doesn't feel like it should have been called We Fall, because they didn't do that. They didn't fall. They fought together a little bit, and then they just went on how they were at the end of episode 10. I think episode 10 should have been called We Fall, and maybe episode 9 should have been Divided, because We Fall in this episode, it doesn't really make any sense. This episode was about Kate and James taking control of the city, and in that respect, I think it actually succeeded in making Kate and James' whole thing actually threatening, taking control of all the technology and whatever in the city, just like how Kilgore did it in episode 2 of The Flash season 4. And even though that's a terrible comparison, because Kilgore was a straight up bad, terrible villain, probably the worst villain on The Flash ever, even so, The Flash failed to make that threatening, but Arrow actually succeeded, at least in this episode. With that in mind, though, Kate and James is still a pretty okay villain. Like, he's not threatening at all. What he's doing is, but himself, he's just not at all threatening, and he's boring. Honestly, he's such a boring villain. And with Kate and James being the main villain, Felicity becomes the forefront of a lot of episodes, including this one. I wouldn't say she was the main character of this episode, but she was definitely put in the forefront, and that sucked in episode 4. But I'm going to say in this episode, it wasn't that bad. Honestly, Felicity was a pretty okay character in this episode. She didn't do anything crazy or anything that I disliked. She was fun, and I respect that, kinda, that they were able to pull that off, because usually they suck at making her a likable character, in my opinion. But in this episode, I'd say she was pretty likable. But getting back to Kate and James, we learn his motivation, or the extended version of his motivation. Before now, all we knew was that he blamed Green Arrow for the death of his son. In this episode, I'm pretty sure we never heard his son's name before, and it's Owen. It's Owen James. His name is Owen James, and Green Arrow didn't actually kill him on purpose. He was a failed target. Now, the thing about this is that it's a little disappointing. It's a little underwhelming. I was hoping it to be like a character that we've met from the past, like Roy Harper or somebody like that, to make it interesting. But it turns out it's another character that we've never seen before, just like how they did in season 5. If they used a character we've seen before, it would have been a little bit different. But here, it's the exact same thing. A little bit different, obviously, because there's father and son, and on purpose, not on purpose. But it's still way too similar for comfort. But even though I thought it would have been better if it was an established character, I think that the reveal about how his son died, or rather how he thinks he died, was pretty good in this episode. It was done pretty well. And throughout the whole episode, until they revealed that Kate and James or Oliver was framed for this, and Kate and James is wrong, until that, I was screaming at the screen saying, because Kate and James said that his son died a year ago, but I was in Star City, and I was screaming, that's impossible, because Oliver was, I wasn't 100% sure, but I was pretty sure that Oliver, the episode 1 year ago, episode 11 of season 5, was the episode where Oliver went to Hub City to recruit Black Canary, and it turns out they actually mentioned that, so that's pretty cool. So this means that Kate and James, or Kate and James' son, actually is either not dead, or the Green Arrow definitely did not kill him, because Green Arrow wasn't in the city at the time. So Kate and James, we know that Kate and James was given false intel, and that might push him over the edge. In episode 13, the synopsis says, Kate and James discovers a secret about the Green Arrow that pushes him over the edge. That secret is probably that Green Arrow is not the person who killed his son. That would probably make him go crazy, because it would make him the whole last year, everything he knew was a lie. So that's very, very possible. With the episode being called We Fall Following Divided, this episode naturally focuses on the new Team Arrow, or I would like to call them the Terrifics. I said that in my trailer breakdown for this episode, and I'm pretty sure in my review for the last episode. I think they should be called the Terrifics, but it turns out their name is actually the Outsiders, or at least Mr. Terrific hinted at that. And that's weird, because I'm like 95% sure that Mr. Terrific, Black Canary, and also Wild Dog have never been a member of the Outsiders. If you don't know, the Outsiders in the comics are a team formed by Batman, and Batman leads it, and Black Lightning is in it, Katana's in it, Geoforce is in it, and other people. But I'm pretty sure Black Canary, Wild Dog, and Mr. Terrific have never been a member. So calling them the Outsiders is a little weird and extremely comic book inaccurate for that team. It would have been so much cooler if they named them the Terrifics, like the new team in the DC universe in the comics, which has Mr. Terrific in it, because at least that shares one member, while the Outsiders don't share any. Even though I don't really like the name, I actually love the team. I think their chemistry without Green Arrow and Spartan and Felicity is actually a little bit better. They really work well as a team, at least in this episode. And I just like the Outsiders. I think they're a cool team, and hopefully they don't get back together with Team Arrow for a little bit, like until near the end of the season. Obviously, I want a civil war, but hopefully they stay apart a little bit, because honestly, they work better. Mr. Terrific works pretty well as the leader of this team, and Black Canary and Wild Dog work better as on this team than they do on the normal Team Arrow. Obviously, I want them to get back together eventually, but maybe not yet. So then we get to, in my opinion, what is the most interesting part of the episode, and that's the reveal that Vigilante is a double agent for the criminal cabal. I don't know if he's lying or telling the truth, but I really, really hope he's telling the truth, because if he was, it would, first of all, it would make sense, because he's not a bad person. He might be a bad person, but he's a vigilante. It's literally his name. He wouldn't side with criminals and outlaws and the Bratva and a drug cartel or whatever they are. He wouldn't side with people like that. So the fact that he's a double agent would make so much sense. That's first of all. And second of all is, it would be so awesome if Vigilante turned out to actually be a good guy this whole time. Because Vigilante, in the comics at least, he wasn't like a superhero or anything, but he was never a bad guy. He was an anti-hero, just like he was in season 5. So like I said, it would make so much sense, and Vigilante would so work. He would work so well on the Outsiders, on their team, because first of all, he would have a romance with Black Canary, which they're probably doing that because they said that that Black Canary or Dinah will get a new love interest, and so far she was with Vigilante for like one episode, so it would make sense if they could become a good guy again, so that the romance that they told us that was going to happen can actually happen, which I'm fine with, at least for this season. But just Vigilante being on the Outsiders, it's such an interesting concept to me, and it just sounds really awesome. Also, if there is ever a civil war, that could be what evens out the teams, because we know that Green Arrow himself can take out the new recruits easily, because Dark Arrow or Black Arrow did that in the crossover, and then Green Arrow beat Black Arrow. So Oliver can probably take out the new recruits, but who he can't take out, or at least he's kind of evenly matched with because he has a healing factor, is Vigilante. So that would kind of even out the scales, because you have maybe Arsenal can come back, and then you have Green Arrow, Spartan, and Arsenal versus, or maybe even Wild Dog. I mean, not Wild Dog, Ragman versus Black Canary, Mr. Terrific, Wild Dog, and Vigilante. That would be an awesome civil war. With Vigilante being a good guy again, hopefully he's not lying about this. With that happening, then that can definitely make a civil war more possible, more epic, and just more fair. I just really want Vigilante to become a good guy, and I hope this isn't a ruse by Cade. I hope this isn't like a brilliant plan by Cade and James or something like that, because if it is, I'll honestly be really disappointed. I just really want Vigilante to be telling the truth. Something I forgot to mention is two things, actually. William's reaction to Oliver being the Green Arrow and also accepting it at the end. I thought that was a pretty cool story arc for this episode. I like the fact that William actually accepted him as the Green Arrow. I felt like it was although it was actually done really well in episode 2, I never need to see that again, so the fact that he's accepting it is actually pretty cool. And the second thing is Spartan's new costume, which I thought looked pretty cool in the trailers, and then in the promotional photos I thought it looked kind of lame next to all the other colorful superhero costumes, even though none of them have any color to them other than like really dark green, black, and white, and a tiny little bit of yellow, and also Wild Dog has red. Even still, Spartan's new costume looks a little lame in comparison. On the show, like in the first trailer we saw it in the storage thing, it looked pretty cool, but on Spartan, on Diggle himself, it looks so lame. It's better than his old costumes. It's just so bland and dark. I'm fine with it. I'm not complaining about it or anything. I'm just stating that I don't really like the new costume. But then again, I never really liked Spartan's costumes ever. It's better than the old ones, but still, it's nothing special. Which the old ones can get away with because they were the original costumes. But this one being probably his last costume ever, it is a little underwhelming. In conclusion, I thought the Kid and James part of the episode was mostly done really well. It fleshed out his motivation. Even though it's copying Prometheus to a T, it's still more fleshed out than it used to be in previous episodes. And it also made his plan more threatening. This episode didn't make him more threatening at all. The season's kind of struggling with that. Without his criminal cabal surrounding Oliver, who Oliver was by himself, that was the only time I felt like Oliver was threatened by him at all. When he's alone, and even now with Spartan and the rest of the team, he's just not a match for them, so he's not threatening in the slightest. And then the outsider part of the episode was just all in all amazing. I love the team. I love the Vigilante being a double agent twist. I love that. Hopefully he's telling the truth. And then also Felicity being the forefront of the episode didn't really bother me this episode, and William's reaction to Oliver being the Green Arrow and accepting it was pretty cool. All in all, this episode mostly was pretty great, which is why I'll give this episode a 8.8 out of 10. It wasn't an amazing episode or anything. I was satisfied by everything that happened, but at the same time, none of it was amazing. It was all good or great. None of it was amazing, other than the Vigilante twist, if that turns out to be true. But anyway, let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below, and also in the poll in the top right corner of the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.